Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
And hide and seek.
I don't remember the last time I played hide and seek. I don't know what you're talking about.
Count to 10!
No.
Well, today we are going to talk about Hidden Leaders.
The expansion.
The expansion,
Yeah.
Forgotten
Leaders.
Legends.
Oh. Oops.
Now, this game and the expansion is brought you by BFF Games, and the wonderful art is done by Satoshi Matsuura. There's a universe built around it, and we recently did an Almost Innocent video, which is built in the same universe. Different game, though. But you know how we feel about game universes.
Uh-huh.
How do we feel?
We love them, obviously.
Obviously. Well, today we're going to chat a little bit in depth of what the expansion has to offer.
Exactly.
And then answer the ultimate question.
Should you get it?
Should you? We'll find out. Now, just as a reminder, today everything you see is a prototype.
It says it right here.
Prototype.
Zoom in, please.
So, and we actually had to even print some cards because they changed some of the rules up. So you'll see some paper cards, which is not going to be the case for the final version. So if you're interested in the final product, make sure to check out the Kickstarter campaign. They'll be much more in depth than that. And of course, the prototype was sent to us by the publisher as well.
Exactly. And when it does go live on Kickstarter, you can be sure that the link will be down in the bottom there.
Yeah, and I believe it'll be later in October. So keep an eye out. We'll put the direct date down there, and maybe you can follow the project while you're waiting.
There you go.
Well, let's dive in and give you an overview of what the expansion is all about. Or about, as us Canadians say.
We don't say that.
How do you know?
Because you say about and I say about. They sound very different.
About?
About.
Now, before we take a look at the expansion, let's take a look at the core game, Hidden Leaders. Now, in this game, each player will take a role of one of the 6 hidden leaders, and each leader is aligned with 2 out of the 4 factions. Now, during the game, players will influence the power of the Hill Tribes and Imperial cards by playing hero cards. Now, after a certain number of hero cards have been played for your player count, the game ends. The position of the 2 markers result in a victory for one of the 4 factions. The player or players who are aligned with the winning faction can win the game. If that's only one player, they win. If there are several players that are tied, the tied player with the most heroes of the winning faction wins. Now let's look at what Forgotten Legends adds to the game. Now in this expansion there's 3 modules: Guardians, Corruption, and Artifacts. Now, the Guardian module adds 4 Guardian leaders, 21 hero cards, a marker for the main board, along with the Fate cards. Now how does this affect setup? Well, the 4 Guardian leaders will be shuffled, and secretly 2 of them will be added to the 6 core leaders. You'll shuffle this pile of 8 and deal 1 to each player. You'll also place the Guardian marker on the space with the number 1, and then shuffle all the Guardian heroes and the Mother Guardian into the deck of the hero cards from the base game. You'll place the 6 Guardian Fate cards nearby for use later. Now this module adds another faction type, which are the Guardians. When you play Guardian heroes, you'll move the Guardian marker +2 on the power track. Now when a Guardian is put into the graveyard, the player who performed the ability that put the Guardian into the graveyard does the following. They'll draw 2 Guardian Fate cards, choose one of them, reveal the chosen card and perform it. Then shuffle the 6 Guardian Fate cards again. Now at the end of the game, if the Guardian marker is ahead of both the green and the red marker, the Guardian wins. Now, Guardian victory does trump all the other faction victories. If the Guardian wins and no player has the Guardian faction, then you ignore the Guardian marker and evaluate the winner as in the base game. Now, if 2 players have Guardian leaders and claim a Guardian victory, you resolve the ties in the base game, first looking at the most Guardian heroes. And that's the Guardian module. The second module is Corruption. This comes with a Corruption card and 18 Corruption tokens which will be placed in this bag. At the beginning of the game, to set up this Corruption module, you'll simply add all the Corruption tokens to the bag and then place the Claim Corruption card next to Harbor with the card side up according to the number of players. You'll draw 2 Corruption tokens and place them on the Claim Corruption card with the backside face up. Now a player can claim Corruption any time that they meet the requirements stated on the Claim Corruption card. The player who claimed the corruption takes a corruption token from the card, and then everyone, including that player, draw 1 token from the corruption bag. Every player has to put a token on any one hero in turn order, with the front side face down. Players cannot put a corruption token on an already corrupted hero. And again, the player who claimed the corruption has to put down both tokens. Now there's 3 different types of corruption effects. A faction change. At the end of the game, this will change the faction of the hero. It doesn't change it throughout the game, just at the end of the game for the purpose of the tiebreaker. And the second corruption effect is backlash. When any player buries the corrupted hero, you'll flip the token, and you'll be able to bury one of their heroes as well. Backlash. And the last corruption effect is protection. When the corrupted hero becomes a target of the ability of any other hero, the player controlling the corrupted hero may flip the token and prevent the ability from happening. You'll then discard the token back into the box. Now, a few things to know: players can always look at their own corruption tokens and know what they do. And if any cards get exchanged between players, the corruption tokens simply follow them. And that's the corruption module. Now, the last module is the artifact module, which comes with 6 artifacts and 18 artifact tokens. During setup, every player chooses 1 artifact. Or if you cannot agree, you'll simply randomly deal 1 out to each player. Every player puts their artifact card face up next to their face down leader card, and takes a number of artifact tokens indicated by the artifact card, either 2 or 3. Now, every artifact comes with a unique power that a player can play. Whenever a player uses the power, they put 1 artifact token from their artifact back into the box. Now, there's 2 different types of artifacts, one with a lightning symbol and one with an hourglass. A lightning symbol means that you can use the ability at any point during step 1 of your turn. This can be done before or after you play a card. Now, with an hourglass, you can use the ability after step 4 of your turn, which comes after the tavern being filled up. And that's the artifacts module and the overview of the expansion Forgotten Legends. But what are our general thoughts?
I really like... Wait, okay, let's start by talking about what we think about hidden leaders.
I love hidden leaders. I think it's like we played so many like deduction and like hidden element type games like in university and earlier, and I'm just not a fan of those games anymore. I feel like they've been played so much in my life. Place, I think. Yeah, like I think it has to be a very specific instance for me to want to play that. But I like that this game took an element of that, of like the, I wonder what you're doing, but actually built a lot of mechanics around it as well, with playing cards and shifting the game. And it always draws me to this game at a higher player count. I think this is one of the best games to play at 6 players. Yeah,
it really shines at a higher player count for sure. I like the multiple winners, particularly like when the tiebreaker happens. Like it makes
heroes.
Yeah, exactly. You have to like keep in mind very much of what's going on in your board, even though you're trying to win for a certain faction. Playing a different colored card is actually better for you sometimes, but also at your detriment, because if it's a tiebreaker, you could lose because you didn't play the right colored cards, or as many as the other person did.
Layers of fun.
Exactly. To Ilya's point, though, this game, Hidden Leaders, really great at a high player count. It's okay at 2-player, I would say.
Not my favorite.
It's not a 2-player game I would pull out right away, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And I think the expansion actually helped me enjoy the 2-player variant. Well, it's not a variant, but the 2-player version
a little bit more. Yeah, I think it definitely is not my go-to 2-player game. I think it really depends. I think when it's fun in 2 players is if you share a faction.
Yeah, exactly.
I think because sometimes you can get it drawn where like I have green and black and you have red and blue.
Exactly.
And then that makes the game just not fun in my opinion. And it's because it's like, but when there's collaborative and you can all of a sudden bury the cards that you think the person has, I think that's where it grows. So I really like that. But overall,
let's jump into the reasons why we liked the expansion.
Yeah. So I was very excited when I learned that there's going to be a new faction introduced. So the first module with the Guardians is my selling point. I loved the clever way to introduce that. The Guardian starts all the way at the beginning. The Guardian cards are typically better than a lot of the other... Are better than the other hero cards. So people will want to play them. But all of a sudden, are you the Guardian? And are you helping the Guardian? Because it's almost like the Trump faction.
Yep, the Guardians are really neat because every time you place them, like it makes you move the Guardian up. But also, every time you put them into the graveyard, like they have to go potentially go backwards or cause one of the other factions to go backwards. So it's pretty neat in that, like Ilya was saying, is that the cards are a lot better. And I think the way that the deck has been set up, just in general, there's a lot of filtering that can go on through the deck. So you can find those giant cards to be able to play them yourself and push yourself to a victory.
The Guardians.
The Guardians, sorry. Yes. To push them to your victory. And it is another layer that adds like some thought to the game and how you're going to play it, particularly when you do get put in the Guardian faction. It's a lot of fun to try and like figure out how you can get there.
Winning as a Guardian is very rewarding, but I like it too because it's this little giant
guy
who
and
just
the
like
cute little
around.
art Guardians like that they've done. I mean, one of my favorite parts about this, besides the gameplay, are the names that they come up with and the art that they have. They nailed it again with the Guardians.
This universe can contain, like, if every game's in this universe, would not complain.
So are there any other reasons that we like this? Like, we've really only talked about the first expansion, the first part of the expansion.
That's true.
That's a good point, I'll say. That the expansion is great because it comes with 3, like, modular expansions. You can play with all 3, you can toss one of them in, like, any combination you want.
And they're varying, like, difficulty, but also, like, having an artifact with you just elevates the game a little bit. It makes it a lot of fun. I like that even like in the beginning with the Kickstarter mini expansion, there's so many different ways you can tag onto the original game.
Yes.
Or you can just play the core game and still have a lot of fun. So you'll never be bored with the Hidden Leaders world.
Exactly. So you mentioned artifacts. Let's talk about that expansion then. What do you think?
I like the artifacts.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like the... I think it's one of those. It's more of a mini expansion to me, like a module.
It does feel like,
it's very like minor because you have an artifact and then you can essentially use it numerous times in the game. But I do like in the rulebook there's a variation that you can play with the artifacts. If you have the Queen mini expansion, the Best Friends, you can throw your artifacts that you've used onto the Queen's Best Friends, and then you can predict the next faction that will come out, and eventually those cards can go into your hand. Which is pretty fun. It adds another layer. I like it. But yeah, I like the artifacts. What about you?
Yeah, I think just the artifacts alone are a great little mini expansion. Exactly what you said. They've got like a bunch of different abilities that you can use for each artifact. All of them are unique. You can really kind of see how they fit together with your hero that you end up getting. And I think... or your leader that you end up getting. And that's a lot of fun to try and like figure out the mix and match. You can do them randomly as your artifacts, or you can pick which artifact you want and draft them almost, so that's a lot of fun. And yeah, I think I really enjoy it. The other expansion is
the corruption
tokens, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I will say that this one's probably my least favorite out of the 3, but... that being said, I think it does add some interesting elements to the game, and it's the easiest to implement.
I think I think it would shine at a higher player count, because essentially what it does is just lets you play around with your cards a little bit, deceive people, think that they switch factions at the end, maybe help you resolve a tiebreaker, or continue your bluffing game a little bit as well. So I think it's a nice touch. But I think a 2-player was just like, there's times like, I don't want to put this on anybody. It's just, So that one, I think to me, I want to experience it at a higher player count, but it didn't connect with my soul immediately.
I actually think the strongest ones are the ones that change the faction type. The trap ones are really nice, but not knowing where somebody is on your track, or having that like scary thought of like, you might have underneath that token the faction change to your victory, it's like to your leader, like that is really strong because it will help you break those ties, and I think that's really good.
I wish that they would you could hide on who the tokens belong to, because I think that, like, to your point of like there's the vanquish and the protect, and I feel like anytime we had tokens, we just avoided targeting those heroes because we're scared that they'll
because you have to assign the token to a card. So if it is a protect, like burying a character can be kind of like risky for me if I was going to bury a character that Ilya had with a token on it.
So I think we just avoided that, but if there was a way to make it maybe secret, or maybe apply to more characters.
I mean, there might be a reason to do something where you want to figure out if they have a trap, because like getting rid of one of your characters can sometimes actually be beneficial because
Yep.
you can drag out the game. Like it just brings in some strategy.
That's true. That's the 3 modules.
Exactly. Okay, now that you've heard us ramble about the 3 modules that you'll get in this game, what is our opinion? Should people get this? Do we think they need it? What do you think?
So, going back to my earlier point, I was very excited to see how the 3rd faction was to be implemented. And I will say, I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
I think the sole reason, the main reason, not the sole, the main reason to get this is the Guardian module. I think it's really cool how the new faction's added. It's nice that you have a little bit of a twist, because then are you going for the Guardian? Do you have a mix of 2? And I think the way that it did it was really clever. So I would get it simply for that faction. The other 2 factions, they're nice. They add a little bit of like
nice to have.
Like they're not like, I don't know if I'll play with them every time. I think every now and then, like maybe to spice things up, I'll add one of the other 2. But I feel with the Guardians, I would consistently play with, just because I think it increases the variability in the game and
it makes it more complex.
And it keeps you guessing.
Yeah.
It keeps you guessing of what is going to happen. Those cards are exciting. The Guardians are excited. I'm also very excited to see what the little Guardian token is going to look like. Because obviously you saw a meeple.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a brown meeple.
It's not.
I don't think so. I hope not. Maybe it is.
No, I mean they have like the...
I feel like the other 2 are so thematic.
Exactly.
A brown meeple just looks out of place.
Yes. I'm sure they'll make something amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think I wholeheartedly agree with you. Although, I think like once I would get this, I don't know why I wouldn't play with all of it. I think I would just
at the
like...
same time?
Yeah, like I think I would just incorporate this into the base all the time now.
Oh,
like,
I see. Okay.
I think that people will like this, and once they get into it, I think the game just is better off with all of it just stuck into it.
Including the corruption in this?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I agree.
I think if you include all of it, I think it's a better game. It adds more layers to it. So this is the point I'm trying to get at. If you're happy with the base game, the simplicity and the strategy and the thought process that goes through your minds when you're playing Hidden Leaders, then no, I don't think you need the expansion. If you're looking for a reason to get more complex with this game, I think the expansion is great. On top of that, I think what the expansion does is it eliminates some of the frustration that I've seen in high player counts, where it's hard to get your victory to happen because of, for example, like not being able to find the right cards, not being able to draw the right colors. You just feel kind of stuck. And I think this helps out. Overall, I would say you have to check it out solely for the Guardians. But the other 2, they're there, so you might as well play them.
See, I don't know if I agree. I don't think I would play it always with the Guardians and the base game.
Oh, I would play Guardians. I would definitely play Guardians and Artifacts.
Oh. Artifacts to me are just like, this is nice and easy to include, but...
Well, that's what I mean.
That's true.
The
That's
2
true. That's a
other
good point.
modules
That's a good
besides
point.
the Guardians are really easy to
I
incorporate.
love the Guardians, and I'm just loyal to them now. Well, thank you so much for watching, and hit that subscribe, the thumb, comment in the comments down below.
Subscribe the thumb in the comments down below.
Subscribe the thumb in the comments down below.
Subscribe the thumb in the comments down below.
Tell us what you think about Hidden Leaders. Have you had the chance to play the base game? Are you excited for the Forgotten Legends? Are you excited for more games in this universe? Do you absolutely love Satoshi Matsuura's art? Because I do.
Heck yeah. Alright, until next time though, we'll see ya in the next one.
Bye!